Hello and welcome back to another TwoSun Tuesday. This one's a little bit more recent as far as the numbers go. Obviously you could tell from the thumbnail, so I will just get into it. This is the TS318. This is a NightMorning design. As you can see, it's a sheep's foot blade from NightMorning, as I just said. That was stupid of me to repeat that, but whatever. 14C28N on this guy. You can see I do have quite a bit of angles sharpener rash going on there. Not sure exactly why it happened on this one in particular, but it did. So there it is. Doesn't bother me because, well, it still cuts like a great knife. So there's that. This thing is a little smaller than a lot of other designs out there. This guy's got basically like 2.69 inches, not ounces. So yeah, a little bit smaller than, or less lengthy than some others. We have a fairly decent finger choil size going on here, so you can choke up pretty considerably on that. We also have the dip out here, which really helps kind of anchor your finger in there if you're doing utility cuts and or cutting down onto a surface. Really helps you get a lot of leverage onto the tip there, so that works out quite nice. This one, I'm not quite sure why, but it reminds me of a Spyderco. It was a flash batch, so they didn't make a whole lot of them, but it was called the Bombshell. Now that one, obviously, it was not a sheep's foot blade. It was a little bit more upswept kind of drop point. But this thing still has a lot of the same kind of looks and characteristics. And, well, that one was from their Taichung, Taiwan factory that does a lot of titanium that kind of looks like this. This one actually does have a little bit of an acid etch finish going on the micro milling there. So it is a little bit different than most other titanium that they've done up to this point. It's pretty nice. This one, especially with the micro milling, you don't quite get those snail trails that you would on some of the Taichung Taiwan Spydercos or Chris Reeves Sabenzas or any of that. This is a little bit more gracefully accepting of scratches, so that's kind of nice. I do appreciate that. And, well, yeah, we got a little bit of a lock bar access there. Nice scallops on both sides. So very easy to disengage without any kind of problems whatsoever. And we got about as deep carry as you're going to get out of a titanium milled pocket clip on this guy. So that's definitely a plus for a whole host of people. The pocket clip does a pretty good job of getting in and out of the pocket. There's not a crazy concentrated point there that makes it difficult. And yeah, I do like the multiple smaller cuts for the lock bar there rather than just a large channel. And that for me makes this a decent look to it. A lot of times if they are going to have like a large channel, I kind of like to see them do that on the inside just to keep the facade of the knife looking kind of smooth. But this one works quite well. We also have these 4 spacers on the back, and you can see they're kind of different. Well, maybe you can't see it on the camera, but they are actually different diameters. So you can actually put these things back in incorrectly if you're not too careful when you're putting it back together. This guy, if I remember right, also has multi-row bearings. Now, we're going to see that when I open it up, and I'm going to look like a jackass if I didn't remember correctly, but I think it does. That being said, though, it's a wiggle shut, but I would kind of assume that it would be a little bit more of a drop shut, but it's not. But that's perfectly fine. I don't necessarily care one way or the other. It actually feels just a little tiny bit under-tightened there. Yeah. We can see the tolerances on this thing. When it's closed, the blade is quite close to both sides of the scale there. They don't do that on a whole lot of models, but they do it on some, and I think it's a little bit more of a design flex that they can get away with doing that on some of them. It does mean that you do need to watch out and keep your pivot tightened, or get some sort of Loctite or other friction adding kind of things, mechanism going on in there, because if it does get a little bit off, then it can actually hit that titanium. And since this is a 14C28N, you're going to see that. So there's that. This is using NightMorning's standard kind of a circular pyramid thumb studs there. And they remind me, not quite the same, but does remind me a lot of the feel of like Benchmade's, like this 940. I suppose I should probably do some size comparisons, since I forgot to do that a little bit earlier. So yeah, you can see this is definitely a little bit on the smaller side of the spectrum. We go with a Kalashnikov's that's also larger, which is it is what it is. I don't know, my mind just completely stopped thinking there. You can see that the handle is basically about the same, but the blade is longer on the Dozier there. And those are probably the ones that are most useful for that. So, yeah. So these thumb studs, like I said, they don't bother me at all when I'm flicking a knife open. But they are a little bit pointy, so they're not exactly the most comfortable if you are going to slow roll a knife open. Something you might want to keep in mind with that. But yeah, I have absolutely no problem with these thumb studs if I'm just deploying it with a thumb. Yeah, so let's go ahead and take a look on the inside and prove me right or wrong whether or not this has multi-row bearings. There's the pocket screw there. You can see the offset thing for the titanium clip there, so it's not really going to rotate or move around too much on you. And pivot screw. Alrighty, so yeah, they're multi-row bearings there. You can see we do have a little bit of a skeletonization going on there, and a little bit more over here. That takes the weight out a little bit. It's still not a lightweight spring chicken. It's still like 4.2 ounces or 119 grams, but it could have been worse. So there's that. And then, yeah, we have this barrel spacer slash ring because it is just using a Chicago screw there. But, yeah, we do have a, there's the blade stop pin. It's not internal to the blade. And that is fine. Also, we do have the reverse detent track in there. Go ahead and turn that to be the actual correct orientation. This thing is a little bit more difficult to put back together than some of the others, especially because of these. As you can see, yeah, they are different diameters. So you want to get those correct and make sure that all of them are actually set up and in both sides of the scale, because sometimes they will not. And that will cause some problems when you're actually trying to put the darn thing back together. All right. You can see on the front here we do have a little bit more polished titanium things for the collars there. And like all the other multi-row bearings, we do have the flat side there I think that might have just a little bit to do with why the action on these aren't absolutely as smooth as they could be, since doing their single row bearings really doesn't affect a whole lot when they have the bearing races going on there. They end up doing a pretty good job. Just realized that that might not have made any cognitive sense. So if that didn't, I do apologize. Alright, the pivot was not actually fully in place. Oh well. You know what? I will actually put this thing together off camera, because the camera's actually in my way, and well, my eyesight isn't exactly the super best. So I would rather get a little bit closer up to be able to do that. But yes, this thing is a pretty nice little sheep's foot blade. The handle on it is quite nice and does fit my larger hands, which really doesn't happen a whole lot with these smaller blades, or these sub 3-inch blades at least. So that works out all right. And yeah, like I said, these are fairly recent. It's in the 300 series. So I'm sure that we will be seeing more of them sooner or later. I haven't seen one up for sale for a little bit, but you know, things change all the time, so they probably will be. But all right. Well, that's basically everything I wanted to talk about. So, as always, I appreciate y'all for watching, and have yourself a wonderful rest of your day. Yo. Subscribe, please.